Council Bluffs Savings Bank, you can get the protection you need from the bank you trust.
The only thing more important than knowing your money is safe is the assurance that your identity has protection. Council Bluffs Savings Bank, hometown banking the way it used to be.
Okay, we're going to get started before Herky comes. Review the agenda. Anything under the consent agenda that anyone had any questions in regards to?
I got a question on 3C. Is DEB paying their bill?
That was my question.
I mean, it's not their
No,
reputation.
we'll have to we're gonna certify that against the parcel probably the next 60 days. We're
So,
waiting- this is like a tricky
I'm
issue.
sorry, I didn't hear you.
We'll certify it against the parcel within the next 60 days. We're waiting for the final on this phase.
So they will eventually pay?
We'll put a brick on the property and, yeah, they'll have to.
We'll sell it and then they,
Next.
yeah.
Well, they had somebody that was looking at it. I don't know if that's still
Yeah.
the case, but
Matt is your appointee for the Civil Rights Commission. I don't recognize that address.
Yeah, I had the same question on
3003
that.
Atlantic Avenue. And I didn't find them in the courthouse records or anything, so I don't know where they live.
Atlantic Avenue, huh?
Maybe it's a
I
typo?
couldn't find that one either, but
I couldn't find the name on courthouse either, so I
Oh.
don't know. There's no,
maybe it's a new one. No?
I don't,
Civil Rights Commission, Dick, do you know, is that has to be a Council Bluffs resident?
I thought so. I can
so.
double check on that though.
Makes sense.
I'm thinking that might be the mobile home park.
Maybe the what?
on 24th, Mobile Home Park.
Bluffs Acres?
Yeah, I don't think so.
That's down in
Atlantic
Twin City,
Avenue?
isn't it? Isn't it
No,
Twin City?
right by Penny's, you mean?
And that
Yeah.
wouldn't show.
Isn't
Isn't
that
that
Bluffs
Bluffs Acres?
I think so.
I
Yeah,
think, yeah.
Or Mount.
I don't
Yeah,
recognize
Atlantic.
Atlantic.
All right,
Yeah,
let me
Atlantic
do,
doesn't sound right, but
let me do some investigation.
Be in monopoly.
for
on
that
one,
Google, that's what I'm gonna do.
And Bluffs Acres won't show up on courthouse because it's irrelevant.
That's why.
Oh, yeah.
That might be.
Could be.
Yeah, that could be it then.
Oh,
I
wait a
just
minute,
don't
why
know
am
the
I doing it
streets
on
in there
there?
since they're leased lots. Yeah.
Google Maps, let's do that.
Well, we probably have her contact number on her application, right?
I'll look and see.
Okay.
Typically, they come through the departments, make recommendations. People's been contacting them. I'll get you an answer before we get that
Thanks.
far. You got my dysautonomia?
Yes.
That's going to be a tester tonight, I think, about 80 medical terminology. Anything else on the consent agenda?
Just a question on one of the claims, Dick. I saw a claim in there for work being done by the city in Glenwood, Iowa. It's that claim by CenturyLink, and that kind of got my attention.
Is
And
that where it is?
It's in Bluffs Acres.
Yeah,
Thanks, Greg.
Greg, that
That's
is
where
it
it's
is.
at.
They're
we'll have
looking
to
at it
figure that
too.
one out. I'm not quite sure what
Where is
they're
it?
Bluffs Acres.
going after there.
Okay.
I think that's what
Oh,
they're trying to figure out,
Gina?
too. Is that what they're trying to figure out?
Schottenheimer? Yeah.
It
I
is
could have
Bluffs
told you
Acres.
that.
Yeah.
I was scrambling to see who the
Good work.
name was, so.
Yep, nope, so we're good to go on that. That is Bluffs Acres.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah. Good.
Stand corrected.
Very good.
Get to tell someone no.
She's the dean of something at Iowa Western.
Wonderful. We appreciate her
Yeah.
agreeing to serve.
Absolutely.
Well, thank you for that, Dick. I was just, saw that and was a little curious.
Since they use the South Expressway address, I think that might just be a mistake on their part, calling it Glenwood.
Understand.
That looked, hopefully a typo.
All right, anything else on the, anything on the, public hearings?
On, okay, so 5A is purchase price of $430 net price, which we forgive. On B, I just want to confirm that that's not forgivable because it's a buildable lot. Just want to make sure. Thank you.
Other questions on the public hearings? Anything on the ordinances for first reading?
On 6C, there are 4 addresses covered by that zoning change. last one, 620 East Pierce is a private home, owner occupied. I was curious as to why that was included, but for continuity. But question is, since we would be changing that to administrative professional, that would impact, would it not, the owner's ability to sell the property, and that any prospective buyer would have a difficult time getting a loan with that zoning contingency on it?
You're talking about the structure to the farthest east?
Yes. that is-
620?
Yeah, that is a
That's a single-family home?
owner-occupied house built in 1900, I believe.
The one with the red roof?
Yes.
Yes.
It's a multifamily, I think.
I thought that was multifamily, but maybe
It
it's been
is.
converted back to a single-family, I don't know.
He's
I
got
can't
cars
speculate
on
on whether or not that can be sold, but right now, I think it's owned multifamily residential. If he has expressed concern that his structure would become non-conforming in a certain way. All I can tell you is that the setback requirements in an AP district are slightly better on his interior side yard than the R3 district, and so that's an improvement. His lot coverage would be higher under the AP district, so he wouldn't be non-conforming there, and he could have this as a single-family house. He could sell it to Councilman Brannigan for a multifamily unit, or he could sell it to you for having a rental place and maybe a law firm. So he has a little bit more flexibilities with the administrative professional, but also having the luxury of still being conforming under as a single family.
Because those are all permissible uses under AP,
Yes, yeah,
and that's why it doesn't throw him into a non-conforming
Correct.
use.
Don, actually, I was door knocking in that area, and he was outside, and I talked to him. He was at the planning commission meeting. He asked the question if his house would become non-conforming. He's actually in the process of changing it from a six-plex to a single-family house.
okay.
Told me about all the drywall, extra drywall he's had to purchase, et cetera, et cetera. So that is his intent for a single-family house. He lives there with his wife and sons. He didn't have any problem with it. And whatever questions he had were resolved at the planning commission meeting. So,
Well, I think he wants a letter from our office explaining the difference between his existing classification and to the new classification. We're willing to do that for him.
yeah, he does want to make sure that he's
Yes,
okay in that, after the rezoning.
yeah.
Don't blame him.
Well, when I spoke to him over the weekend, he also mentioned, how it would impact the ability to sell the property at a later point and date. So, if he's making it into a single-family residence and he wants to sell it for purposes of a single-family residence, I know that's all speculation, but
Well, from our office and from the city standpoint, if the rezoning is not approved or approved, he can occupy it as a single-family home and he can sell it as a single-family home. No one's gonna,
Okay.
I don't see that is jeopardizing it. I guess if it was me making the investment, I would like to have the ability to sell it as a single-family home. Perhaps somebody wants to buy it as a duplex. Maybe somebody wants to live there with a rental unit. Maybe somebody wants to have an office with a rental unit. It just gives you more flexibility, and it seems to me that you would expand your sales market.
I think that
But I'm not a
probably
realtor, and I'm not in that business, but that's how I would look at
okay.
it. So,
any non-conforming, I would show if I were to appraise it, would have to do with the site area or something like that, and not the use, because a single-family residential or multi is permissible under the AP. So if it were more than 50% destroyed, could it be rebuilt is always the question.
Yeah, and he didn't seem real concerned. I was there late Sunday afternoon, so.
Oh, so really recent.
Thank you,
Yeah.
Don.
Other questions on first consideration?
On D, There were 5 neighbors, who I assume neighbors, who spoke against. There really wasn't a lot of information on why they were against. I don't know, Don, if you went to the planning commission, if you can enlighten us. You were not,
I was
know.
present.
Oh.
They're concerned about the development encroaching upon there. These are the people who live, I think it is on Gifford Road, that lie essentially to the south and west of this rezoned property. And they were just expressing concern about additional traffic on the streets in the area.
so during the discussion then, because the planning commission voted in favor, were you there?
No, but I had heard as well. I spoke with a couple of people that are sellers that were concerned originally. They said that they are agreed to do something with a wall or a fence, or, because part of it was concern about site, and not with wall, like with trees, like a wall of trees that was a buffer. And so they were happy, the people, because it was some people from Pelican Cove, and then someone Gifford Road both, and that seemed to be, because I
That
spoke to a
satisfied
couple of them. I didn't talk to all of them, but the couple I talked to, they said that that tree buffer
Okay.
satisfied, and I think that's probably what the planning commission,
That was-
Oh, that's good.
Also, their members of the planning commission indicated that this whole area will ultimately be transforming into an I-2, and that
Right.
their use may be the one that's out of place in the future.
right,
Sure, yeah. But it's good to know why they objected.
yeah, it was with the.
Any other questions on the ordinances?
On E, I couldn't tell from the map, how many doors down was 2411? I'm just wondering he was against it. How will he be impacted, if
It's at
any?
least 2 doors down from the parcel to be rezoned,
More than 2 doors down?
at least 2 doors.
Okay. And why was he against it?
He thought there were enough fast food establishments on West Broadway.
Oh, that was the guy, okay.
Was one of them.
Thank you.
On that same item, I understand that the fourth lot in was also being bought for purposes of this development. So is that going to be ultimately incorporated into this rezoning proposal, or?
Most likely, their problem on this site is probably more of a site plan issue than a land use issue.
Yeah.
They want to build a structure which would affect the alley. They want to close the alley. So they would be looking at buying another house to essentially construct an alley, kind of an L shape, with a small side going north. There's also, I believe, sanitary sewer that has to be relocated and around. I don't know the disposition of the power line that is in the alley, but I assume that'll become an issue at some point in time for them. I highly doubt they're going to be able to build a building underneath that unless the easement is somehow removed, and Mid-America's on board with that. So that's why they're buying the fourth parcel, is to
Yep.
try to accommodate that.
That was kind of the understanding around the neighborhood, is that they needed more space for, I guess, the driveway.
Now, I'm not endorsing that that's going to, come out of staff, in a positive notion. I know we've talked with, time flies by, but, 15 years ago, we had a conversation with a similar thing, and we were going to relocate the alley and do some adjustments there. So
Okay.
I think it's going to come down to matter of cost, so none of that stuff's cheap.
Are they
Well,
going to be here next meeting for the public hearing, do you know?
They're always advised to. I can't guarantee they will be here.
Okay, they've been advised to.
Other questions on first ordinance?
Just a comment on on Dick's provision of new ordinance language. So we'll take that as an amendment.
Yes.
Offer that as amendment. Okay. Thank you again for that.
Problem.
Makes much more sense.
When I first saw that caption, I wondered what Greg was trying to pull, but then I realized it was something I'd done.
Anything on the resolutions?
I have just clarification on C. It mentions a RISE grant. Does that pay 100% of that cost or a portion of it? How does that work? A portion. Majority portion?
No, 45% maybe of
Okay.
this phase.
Okay,
I think it was about 9,900,000 and change. I could get you the exact number if you wish.
that's all right.
I know
Estimate's
it's
fine.
short of 2.
And that's a full-out grant, right? Not a,
It's grant.
okay, thanks.
While you're there, yeah, did you have anything else on that item? I'm sorry.
No.
On 7F,
Oh, I do have something on 7F. I thought you were continuing to talk about C.
no, no problem. I was just going to ask, that the engineer's estimate has gone up to about 4.1 million. Back in mid-July, the estimate was 3.6 million. I was just kind of curious as to what the reason for that increase in the estimate was.
Chris, you got an answer for that? Because I don't.
Okay.
But about 48% of that is also in a grant, and is that 100% free money? If I
Well-
read that correctly. We jumped to F.
Well, you're still talking about River's Edge.
Yes.
You know,
The other one was I-80, I-29.
no, I think we're still talking, you're asking the same question both, are you not?
No, the 7C was a DOT, Iowa DOT grant. This one is a RISE grant. I'm sorry, I might have misspoke on C. I meant DOT grant. Just asked that question.
Well, what is C?
That's I-80, I-29. Okay, Greg, is it
Disregard
a
everything I
100%
said.
grant? The grant by Iowa DOT on 7C covers about 45% of it, or was that Don's answer on F? I'm really confused now.
My answer was directed to F.
Thank you.
Yeah, the last line of the memo, 100% reimbursed.
Okay,
For item C,
thank you.
related to Third Street sewer, interstate relocation.
Just wanted to make sure.
Okay.
Thank you.
You got to answer first.
Okay,
He
back
has
to you,
answer
Al,
first.
sorry.
He has to answer first.
Chris Koenig, HDR. The number you had, that 360, that was for the city's portion for the infrastructure. That did not include the waterworks portion. And so the number that you had back in July, that was for the infrastructure without the water.
Okay, so this now includes the,
This does include the water.
okay,
Which I think, you said 3.6 million?
Yeah, it was 3.6 million, the water portion,
We had originally estimated them waterworks at 700,000.
right.
Yeah.
And that came in at 488.
okay,
That's
So-
where the savings was.
That's the difference.
got it, okay. That helps. We have more cost inflation there.
Other questions on the resolutions?
Just on the street finance report, is someone here? Oh, there he is. It's kind of curious about the local option sales tax figure. There's always good accounting reasons why things are reported out the way they are, but how do you reflect that? Because that's nowhere close to the amount of local option sales tax that goes towards streets and sewers, which, do they exclude sewer work out of the street work for purposes of that report? Because it's all a capital expenditure, so.
I will have to double check that in the accounting, but because the local option sales tax goes between those two, only the streets portion is in this report about the local option sales tax. Anything that has to do with sewer is not in the street report. It is local option sales tax, and we
Yeah.
report that to, or we get that separated out as local option. But in local option sales tax, it's only the street stuff that's reported here in this report.
Okay. I'd be,
That's your question.
well, I'd be interested in seeing some additional numbers on this, because that's a fairly small number, and I would suspect that we're putting a lot more local option sales tax money into street work. But then there's kind of an overlap between street work, and when we totally redo streets, you normally involve the sewer work, or there's other work associated with that. So I'm just curious how those two things get separated out for purposes of this report. I can come by and talk to you and Greg separately on this. But yeah, I'd be kind of interested to see how the street work is tabulated for purposes of using local option sales tax money. So.
Yeah, we can do that. Part of what we can also present you, I think, is as we're finishing up the financial statements, we can give you some indication on the report on the local option sales tax fund, what's coming in, what's sitting, what's going out, and maybe what some of the plans are for anything that's still there. So you're getting where the local option sales tax is really going.
Yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to keep
That's what
track
I'm
of
hearing
that
is kind of the underlying question.
well, I'm trying to keep track of that as we pass resolutions, where the money is going when we use local option sales tax money. And so I just want to make sure that, all the numbers are adding up in the end. And I know that for purposes of state reporting, sometimes things get reported in such a way that is not always obvious to the general public.
Well, those members of the general public in the state that actually look at the report. Yeah, but it's more in this approach that we're trying to assemble to fund accounting and the resource and use of those that hopefully will give you a little more clarity and comfort as you come up to some of these votes and try to make some decisions.
Okay, just want to make sure that we have enough money to keep these projects going
Well,
forward.
no, I didn't say that.
You don't guarantee that, huh?
Other questions on resolutions?
Look at the bid letting, for instance, for that part, you'll notice it's open division section. Part of that is to make the accounting easier. So we have actually a payment section where all those costs are tracked, so it makes it easier to pull those out. So
Okay,
$2.4 million, that would be money actually spent in that fiscal calendar year. So, that may be close to what came out of that pavement section of bids, 2.4 million for the fiscal calendar year.
okay.
But Dan can verify that number and account for the rest of the sales tax where it went, but that number doesn't surprise me at all.
Well, again, we're losing a lot of local option sales tax money for levy work that has to be done. And we're putting a lot of it into capital expenses for sewers.
Right.
And so, again, I'm wanting to make sure that as we go through all these numbers, that it ultimately adds up pretty close to what we're actually taking in.
Okay.
Thanks.
Any questions on the applications for permits and cancellations?
What is 8C? It doesn't really describe what is the event.
Yeah.
It's what?
A bags tournament, like that game.
Bag?
It's like
What else do you call it?
horseshoes.
Yeah,
Oh, with
bag
bean
toss.
bags?
Beanbag.
Beanbag
Yeah.
toss?
Yeah.
Oh, okay. For like a charity event or something? Or,
It's like for the 100 block for downtown.
okay. There just wasn't a lot of information on it. I was kind of curious.
Tailgating game,
Yeah, yeah, the tailgating game.
Yeah,
Yeah,
it's-
Oh, tailgating,
but it's
yeah,
like a
it's a
tournament.
tailgating game, yeah.
Iowa Western thing.
Any other,
During the
No,
Iowa
that's next week. That's
any
okay.
other questions?
I'll show you. what
All right,
it is.
see you at 7.
Thank you.
There's a thing on Facebook.
At Council Plus Savings Bank, you still get personalized customer service.
We have identity safe checking with LifeLock, identity theft protection.
You get personal mortgage lending to fit your needs now and in the future.
You get business banking with the latest technology because saving you time saves you money.
At Council Bluffs Savings Bank, you get people who answer when you call and local employees who are actively involved in our community. Council Bluffs Savings Bank, hometown banking the way it used to be.
The Mid-America Center is the Heartland's premier entertainment and convention center. September 27th, Papa Roach and headliner Five Finger Death Punch rock Council Bluffs. Then rock opera takes the stage with the return of TSO November 18th. Over at the convention center, over 200 exhibitors are on hand at the Callahan Craft Show. And October 18th, vendors aspire to inspire at the Wedding Essentials Idea Show. Remember, the MAC offers free parking for all events. Tickets, information, and more at midamericacenter.com.